Hey, welcome to my workshop. As you can see, I'm sitting inside of a E38 750, which currently doesn't have an engine because my project went a bit too far. What I'm doing right now is I'm swapping into the E38 8 HP transmission, swapping it from 5 HP 30 into 8 HP 70. So there is also some more stuff that I'm doing. I'm also refreshing the engine all around, cleaning everything. So yeah, hope you will enjoy that. Right here I have M73 5.5 liter V12 engine, which as you can see, I needed to take it out of the car, which wasn't the plan, but here we are. I'm doing the whole refresh around it with most stuff getting replaced. I'm not opening it because it's fine. I have another 750 sitting outside that is waiting for head gaskets. So I'll be recording all of that. So if you're interested in the whole engine turn down and assembling it again. And behind me, I have the new transmission. It's a 8 HP 70 from N63 engine. Right here I have adapter plate from DomiWorks together with the torque converter adapter and everything. Also oil cooler adapter. So this makes this transmission fit into the car. At the back of the engine we have the flywheel with flex plate. The flex plate had to be changed for the one provided by DomiWorks. Problem is that their adapter for the torque converter has a different bolt pattern, so it had to be changed. And you can either use it with 4 bolts or 8 bolts. I'm going with 4 bolts, though I drilled the holes for the 8 bolts, but I'm not gonna need that. The stock 5 HP was with 4 bolts only, so it's gonna be fine. I'm not gonna be like pushing this engine super hard or anything. It has 500 Newton meters of torque, but it should be enough to hold it as it held it from the factory, so it should be fine. I'm now going to put the adapter plate on. I already fitted crankshaft position sensors into it. There is 2 because this car has 2 computers. So I'm going now to fit it. And now in the kit we have 2 smaller bolts which go on the top. I'm going to use the Loctite from Wurf. In the kit we also have 2 shorter bolts which go on top right here. I'm also going to apply Loctite to them. Now 2 lower bolts. Now we are on the right side of the engine where we mount the starter. There's a problem with alignment here, as there is 2 holes for the starter. Actually on the 5 HP it mounts, the bolts are coming from the transmission into the engine, and there are 2 nuts right here. DomiWorks changed that, so we need to put 2 screws, which is ultra hard with the engine in the car, but it's doable. I did that. Now I'm going to fit the starter in. I already prepared the bolts with Loctite. Okay, and we have the starter mounted into the adapter plate. Now I will also mount everything around here, the heat shield. There's also a small bracket that goes right here that connects the back of the starter into the engine block. Worth mentioning also that when you try to install this gearbox, the starter is going to hit right here and you have to trim it. I trimmed a little bit too much, but it's very little that you need to trim, and that's the problem that I had and couldn't fit the gearbox and figure it out because it was so high here that I couldn't see it from underneath the car. So that's why I managed to. So that's why I had to pull the engine out basically to spot this issue. And yeah, but while I pulled it out, I already did like all the seals on the back and everything. So I'm not that mad about this. Okay, it's time now to marry the gearbox to the engine. So I'm going to take this centering sleeve and put it on the engine side. And I'm going to raise the gearbox. Yep, and now I can try and align it properly. I managed to put all the bolts in with Loctite. Now also I found there is a mount here for the starter for the other side. I'm not sure why it's there. But Domiworks also, I believe, included two bolts for that, which I mixed up into the other package. So I installed them right here from the other side. And I'm going to tighten all of those, torque them down to spec. And yeah, we should have the transmission installed, and this should be ready to be installed back into the car. There's also two huge bolts that mount the gearbox straight into the engine, just going through the adapter. So I'm going to put them now. They are located all the way underneath the whole assembly. And here we have M73 fitted with 8 HP 70 gearbox. What's left now, we need to address cooling and address the mount for the transmission into the car. What I'm going to do is use the old brace on the back of the transmission with the stock bushes and weld to the back of the transmission a new mount. So I will show you that in a second. In terms of cooling, what we have here is the 5 HP heat exchanger into the cooling system. So one way comes the hot oil, and the other one comes water from the radiator and from the engine, and the heat is exchanged between them. I don't like that. One, because of this type of connection here, which I cannot find anything to connect to. I could weld into that and make it AN fitting, but I prefer to make the transmission and the engine separate from the cooling. So what we're gonna do is ditch this piece here, and what I have right here is the radiator from the E38. I'm gonna put the number on the screen for this part. It's basically the cars that had hot climate version had this instead of the heat exchanger. And what I've done is I have AN fittings welded onto the end of that, so we can connect easily AN fittings, and this mounts very easily into this array of this is for the power steering, and this is for the transmission. On the other side we have the heat exchanger or the radiator for the AC and the normal radiator for the car. So this is very OEM, we're not gonna see much. And also ditching this allows us to use a water pump from E31, which is cheaper because it doesn't have a hole that exits and makes a separate run into this. Instead, we just have a simple water pump for just the engine, and it's cheaper, it's available, and yeah, that simplifies it quite a bit because I don't like it. And also there's quite a lot of plastic here that, yeah, I don't like. So yeah, now I'm gonna move to the gearbox and show you the solution from Domiworks. And now on the side of the gearbox we have a solution from Domiworks. This is made for 8 HP from the N63 engine because they have a different hole diameters. The screw is in a different place, so you need to make sure that you buy the correct piece. And to that we're gonna just put AN fittings that connect into that, and they go into the radiator the old OEM way, and that fits nicely, and we have cooling for the transmission. For the mount of this radiator, you can buy the same piece from BMW, which it doesn't cost that much, and you can make sure that it doesn't move. It's located here with the tabs on the other side, so it doesn't move. I had to trim it a bit because I cut the lines a bit too short, but that's fine. We're then going to use the 90-degree AN fittings here, and we're gonna run the lines down. So yeah. What I have right here is the old mount for this transmission. This mounts to the back of the gearbox and then goes into the bushings in the car. But this is too wide, it hits the tunnel on those two posts. So I'm not going to use this. I'm not a fabricator. This was my first time welding, but what I managed to do is weld this piece together. Basically, it's a plate with the same hole pattern as this one. It's made from 6mm cold rolled steel, and it has just those two mounts that go into the old mount for the E38 with the bushings. Here is the transmission carrier. I'm not sure about the name of it. And those are the two new bushings for the transmission. And what happens is basically we bolt this to the new transmission, and we get this in, and this holds the transmission. I made it quite strong. I think this should hold. I had few welders comment on that, saying that the welds are ugly, but they're gonna hold. I'm aware of that. That they were not meant to be pretty or anything. I will also paint it black, so you cannot see that much. And yeah, so this is the mount. We're going to now make it a bit nicer, paint it, and put it on the transmission. Now I'm going to prep the engine bay to insert the engine bag into it. It was cleaned nicely here around. I also need to replace all the O-rings on the AC lines, and we also need to downgrade from the Bluetooth engine mounts into the normal style. It's the same for the other one. So I'm glad that I'm doing it, to be honest. So I'm going to do that now. And here we have the cap of this engine mount. I'm going now to remove the second one. And here we have the second one. I will give it a little bit of a clean now with this thing here, which cleans all the oil here very nicely. Like this whole side here, everything here was covered in oil, and it's now like nearly brand new, so I'm really happy with how this works. Right here I have the brand new lamp holder part. Unfortunately, it's made in China, which is not great, but that's the only thing I can get. And it was still quite expensive, so I hope it lasts. If not, I will be really angry at them. Now it's time to put coolant lines for the heater core onto the engine. So here's the first one, brand new. Second one is going right here. What I have right here is AN line. We are going to do the cooling for the transmission using AN8 PTFE lines. So I already pre-cut one. I'm going to leave it way longer because I don't know how much space I will have next to the transmission. So before I put the engine in, I want to put the cooling lines in and just leave them there. And then when the whole front of the car is assembled, then I can pre-cut this and make it how long I need it, and then assemble it. So to cut it, you just mark it with a tape to not destroy the outer layer, and you basically just use an angle grinder. So now that this is done, you check. It's also, I watched some tutorials. This is gonna be the second AN line that I'm doing, so I'm just giving you some context how to do it, but don't follow it. So after it's cut, I just make sure that this end here fits nicely, because I already went through a few iterations because I destroyed the inside of it and couldn't fit this end right here. So now that this is fine, I'm going to take the tape off. Yeah, so now I remove the tape, so we can make sure that this fits. And now we need to make room for this small piece here that goes between the outer layer and the inner layer. So between the plastic, or I think nylon, and the outer layer with some mesh from steel. So I'm going to use a screwdriver, and be careful to not destroy the inside, just poke it outside so this can fit onto that. Okay, I think this should be enough. Now I can take this sleeve here and try to put it on. I believe it fits, so now I'm just gonna hit it on the table a few times. And now if we look at the inside of it, there you should see the plastic or the nylon being all the way onto this sleeve. And now we can try and fit this one. I will duplicate it a bit. So you can try and if it goes. Yeah, it's going on, so it's going in, so we can now I made a mistake and didn't put this end onto here. Stupid one, but this end is still not done, so that was easy to do. So now I'm going to install this piece into here. I'm going to use some WD-40 to help it lubricate. And use some okay, that's in now fully, and I can slide this bit over. And now using aluminium to not destroy it. I'm going to destroy it anyway because my vise I don't have the soft vise for aluminium, but yeah, I don't care that much about it for now. So I'm now going to tighten it all the way. And when it stops, I'm going to get my vise. It's not fitted yet, as my workshop is pretty new, let's say. And I'm going now to finish this line. Okay, so this is done now. What I've done, I destroyed this side a bit. I'm going to make it a bit nicer, and now we can go and install on the car. I'm not a professional, as you can see. I just do this for my own car, so yeah, if you have any feedback on that, just leave it below or something. Now on the side of the transmission, we can fit the lines that I've made. And hopefully they are not going to leak, but yeah, we will find out soon. So yeah, this should be fitted now. Of course, we're going to see if this leaks when I start the car. So what happened, I managed to destroy this line here. As you can see, it's kinked, and if you look at the inside, you can see how it's, and I don't think that's gonna be strong. So I need to wait for a new part to make it. I already cut it off and inspected it, and it's bad. So for now, I need to find another job because I cannot fit the engine without that, I believe. So okay, so I believe we can now get the engine back into the car. As you can see behind me, engine is in. The main issue I had was that the engine mounts were mounted not side to side, but like they were rotated 180 degrees. I didn't know that, yeah, I just messed up. And yeah, so I supported the transmission from the back with a jack, and this allowed the engine to be straight, and then it just basically dropped onto the engine mounts and it's now in. So I need to tighten the engine mounts, get the crane off and mount the transmission in the back. And here we have the engine in the car. I already lifted the car because I needed to fit the transmission mount. So I'm going to show you. And I also have the drive shaft in. Well, it's not really in. I'll show you the issue here. So the problem I'm facing right now, this mount that I did is a bit too high. The back of the transmission is sitting too high. I need to re-weld that, and this rubber should be very close to this part here. And now, I don't know if you can see that, but the drive shaft is nearly touching there, and right here it's lifted in that direction away from the transmission on the top. So yes, I need to lower that. An important info for you if you're doing that, I think it's for all E38 with this transmission, but be careful. If you're doing the 750 with 8 HP 70, you need to lengthen the drive shaft by 80 millimeters and it should fit fine. That's what I've done. I bought, I put the part number. I bought the different drive shaft from F01 BMW, and and you can see right here, I gave it to a guy who does drive shafts. He cut it, re-welded it, balanced it, and it's fine. So yeah. So the only thing that I need to do now is re-weld that piece, but I'm gonna do tomorrow. So yeah. But yeah, the engine is now in, and what I have left is to make all the connections to just connect everything, assemble everything, put the front together, and yeah. So yeah, that's it for now. I've remade now the transmission mount. I made these bars higher on it, so the transmission sits lower. Now we have plenty of room on the top here. The drive shaft is now sitting straight on the end of the transmission, doesn't pull on the top or on the bottom or in any way. So yeah, I also pretensioned this. In manual it says to do it between 2 and 4 millimeters. And here we have the whole drive shaft fitted. So it looks good. And now I'm going to start assembling everything here. It's already plugged the sensors because I wanted to check if the wiring is correct. I plugged in the wiring for the turbolaminc. And now we have to manage all those wires here, put the exhaust back in, put the power steering in, and put the front of the car in. I was trying to route the cooling lines nicely and I kinked them, so I need to redo them again, but that's gonna come when most of this is assembled. So yeah, for now I think I'm going to start with fitting the power steering lines. Now at the front of the engine we need to fit the power steering line into the oil pan and then fit it into the power steering pump. Now we have the ground cable for the engine. I'm back at the top of the engine now. What I'm going to do is get the hood in the service position. I lost a clip. And now I can get 2 M10 bolts and thread them in. As I don't have the front on the car, it's really easy to now access everything right here. So what I'm going to do is assemble like everything around the engine, and I'm actually happy that I didn't put the intakes on, because it's really easy now to access everything around here. So now I'm going to tighten the power steering line, because I wasn't sure if I need to remove it or not, so I just made it loose. Yeah, there's also another one. I'm going now to connect the cooling lines into the heater core here. So first one is the one that's coming back from the engine. Now we have the one that is coming from the water pump into the cabin. Here we have one of the pipes, the one that has a kink that is going into the heater core. This one needs to be in the middle. So now I'm going to connect that. Right here we have oil filter housing, so we're going to connect that now. I'm going to spray some WD-40 onto the O-rings so I don't pinch them. And here we have a plate that secures them. Okay, and now we have this line right here. Right here we have the ignition cable that is going from distributor into the ignition coil. So we need to plug it in now. I believe it runs through here. And this should work nicely here. And now we can go and connect the plus cable into the alternator. I'm also refreshing seals in the AC, so I want to remove this line right here. So here I have one of the O-rings that I'm going to replace. There's also a big one right here, but for whatever reason I don't have it, so I need to order it. But I'm going to run to the table and quickly replace O-rings on that line now. I have new O-ring on it, and it's looped up so it can get in smoother. That's in now. I need to order a few more O-rings because this one I have the wrong one, and also I'm missing this one. So I don't know, maybe my order got messed up from BMW or something, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm missing quite a few O-rings for the AC. I also have this one to be replaced. That's the new drying container from Nissan's. I don't have this line because it broke and I'm waiting for it to arrive from Germany. So for now I'm going to skip that. Here I have a new O-ring for this line right here. And now I'm going to do the line inside right there. Okay, here's the old one. And right here I have the new one. I'm going to take the paper towel from there, make sure it's clean. And with some lubrication I'm going to put this back in. And right here also I have the pipe for the secondary air injection to connect. Also right here we have the coil. So I need to find the lead for it and connect it. Okay, yeah, let's connect it now. Now I have this big piece to install. We are now moving on to top of the engine, and I'm going to install the intake manifolds. As you can see, I used a wire brush to clean them up a bit, so they are a bit shinier now. They're still not really nice. It's not like aqua blasting like Threaten does, but I think for now it's gonna be fine. So I'm going to put them on now. Here they are on the car. What I've done is here is a rubber gasket that seals between the intake manifold and the engine block or the cylinder head. They are very expensive to replace, so what I've done is I did the same thing that Stratton did, and I just used Rhinestone seal around this part and the intake manifold, and this part and the cylinder head. So this should seal up nicely. I also have a leak down tester, or just intake leak tester. So I'm going to use it, and I'm going to put all the nuts back in. It's also very tricky with this wiring loom right here. I think the problem is that I have the additional wire for the gearbox now, which is messing up a bit how like everything goes here, but I think it's fine now. I think the other side should be a bit easier because this side is more towards the back. So yeah, I'm going to put the nuts on now and come back. I'm now going to put the nuts into the intake manifolds. Now on this side of the engine here, we can check that the bolts are going through the brackets that are coming from the valve covers, that they are sitting in the holes for the ignition cables. And to make sure that it's happening right here on the end. Yeah. And here we have also one more part that needs to go on, and we can tighten the, I believe this is for the vacuum. For some control of the engine. So yes, I will plug in this one in a second. Right here we have the vacuum control. This part here goes onto the intake manifold right in there. And then we have this part right here that goes to the fuel rail, and this one that connects into the boot of the intake manifold. So I've done this side now. This here was really tricky, so I used a small extension and put it in this place right here. So it was really, it was way easier to do it, but I had to do it one click of a wrench at a time. And also right here, this rubber that connects the valve cover crankcase ventilation system, I believe, to the back of the intake. They need to be connected with this rubber piece. This is really tricky to get in, but I think mostly because of the harness that is going through here, but yeah. So now I'm going to double check everything and then tighten this left side right here. I'm actually not sure where the oil stick goes, oil level. So yeah, I need to check that because it fits into here. But I'm not sure that it goes right there actually, because it would be touching the exhaust. So I will figure this out and yeah, come back. Now we need to get the very long extension and get into every nut that is holding the intake manifold underneath it, because the ones at the top were very easy, and especially because I only have one manifold on. So now I'm going to make sure that everything underneath is tight. And this will get longer as we switch to the other side and install the second one, as we need to go underneath everything, and yeah, it's really tricky to get into it, but if you have a long extension, it should be fine. That's now fitted. It was quite hard and I lost a few bolts. I lost my 10mm a few times, as is the tradition. So yeah, now I will need to make sure what I want to do next, but I think we're going to go with the other side now. It's time now to put the other side on. I've put Seal on all of them to seal it up. I also put this rubber piece right here, so I hope this is going to be easier now to plug in. And yeah, I'm going to install it now. Yeah, I got myself some wrenches on my hands. I'm doing it without gloves because it's way easier to put all the bolts in and everything, and nuts, and yeah. And now it's time for all the nuts. Already dropped one, so it's really nice. If you're working on this engine, it's really nice to have a very long magnet to fish all the dropped nuts. So now it's time for a more tricky stuff. You can see right there is a bolt sticking out, but we need to put the nut on, and we need to do that all across. So this is one here, and it cannot focus there. Oh, you can see it right there. So it's going all the way through that into there. I don't have any magnets or anything to put into my socket, so I'm going to try to use some tape and just tape the nut into the socket and try to get it in the place. So actually, instead of tape, I'm going to use some old paper that I had stuck in the intakes to not get any dirt into the engine, and I just folded it 3 times and pushed my nut into here. So this should work, hopefully. I'm going to try to test it now. Yeah, that worked nicely actually. The only problem is that you can have the paper stuck in there, but I don't think it's such a huge issue instead of dropping the nuts everywhere. And here we have the engine now. Here we have now the engine with the manifolds assembled. It wasn't that hard actually to get all those screws in. I think the bigger problem is dismantling everything, but assembling it back together is quite easy actually. It's not like screws on the top, but like when you put the paper paper into the socket. It's really like it's going good. I didn't drop any bolts. I just used a lot of paper and put the nut really hard in. Now I'm going to put the injectors in because I don't like the holes that are open for injectors. I don't want to drop anything in there. Right here we have 12 injectors. I put some loop on all of the O-rings and now we can get them in. I'm going now to focus on the right side to make sure that everything is connected there. And then we can go connect the lines on the left that go right here. We can connect them into the fuel system. And then we can get the wiring all done. And I think the engine should be... Oh no, yeah, we of course need to do the throttles. But yeah. Yeah, so we have the right side all connected up. I think now it's time to do the throttles. Here's the throttle and the brand new gasket from BMW. It's made by this company. I'm not sure who that is, but yeah. Going to install it now. Okay, the throttle is in. I also connected the vacuum lines that go into the fuel rail. I'm going to do the second throttle. Oh no, actually right now I'm going to connect the fuel hoses. So they need to go into this small cable to route them. Yeah, this clip here is broken to hold them in. The clip to hold them in is broken, unfortunately. But yeah, I think I'm going to now check with real OEM if I connected them the correct way. So I'll be right back. So in terms of the fuel lines, it's hard to understand from the real OEM which one is which. But as I follow them, it makes more sense that this one, because this one is more kinked and it follows the valve cover, so this one is lower. And if it doesn't work, then I will know and I will replace them when I'm trying to start the engine. So yeah, so this is hopefully fine for now. Now I'm going to work on the other throttle. We have another day now. I'm still assembling the engine and I'm going to start now with the engine acoustics. I already did this, the other side. I believe this is just some kind of isolation to stop the ticking from the injectors. And to do that, I need to undo the throttle body because I completely forgot about those and just found them in a box. Now I undid the bolts and I can just swing the throttle body away and I can put this isolation right in. Here I have a vacuum hose for the throttle. I'm going to run it now under all those cables and into the throttle, but it's now quite easy to plug it in as it's unbolted. And I'm going to put the throttle back together with the seal behind it. And there's also one more vacuum line. I believe this is going to the fuel filter. There's another vacuum hose which goes to this throttle. I forgot about it. So I'm going to run it underneath the manifolds and put it right down there. And there's also this one, the bigger one. So yeah, I'm going to do that now. Here we have another two vacuum hoses which go to this throttle. I also forgot about them. And it's a bit trickier because I don't want to remove this throttle. So I need to make some more room around here. And we'll try to connect that under all those cables here and right into the back of the throttle. Okay, here I have the throttle now. I only left one screw, so it's just rotating like that. And I'm going to sort the wires. I want this one to go here, and this one we need to plug into the back right here, and this one right here. Now we need to plug all the cables and everything around the car and check everything. So I'm going to just point the camera like this and just start working on that, because it's just a huge mess to plug everything in. Like we have the thermostat, right there we have the coolant temperature, and then everything around the engine, and also underneath it for the oil level sensor, and yeah, tons of stuff. And also more vacuum lines, because we love vacuum lines. What's gonna be easier is to take those two secondary air valves, I believe they're called, and just plug the sensor for the temperature on the thermostat, and then plug also, they have small, this one right here, small hoses. So it's gonna be easier to do that like this. Cool, that's connected now. It is way easier to do it outside of the car like this. And I think for the next car, and if you're doing this, I think it's best to remove the engine with the harness and just plug everything outside of the car and plug the harness in. But because I have the turbodynamic TCU, and what I have done or haven't done is I didn't put, because I wanted to put Deutsche plugs on between the interior and the turbodynamic, so that I can remove the harness completely from the car without like destroying the harness or anything. But I thought I'm not gonna be taking the engine, then I had to take the engine out. So yeah, so for the future and for the next car, I know what to do now. And I'm going to process, I'm going to move with the vacuum lines and all the connections. And here we have the engine nearly assembled fully. I haven't plugged the injectors yet because I want to spin the car, spin the engine without ignition for now, to build oil pressure, because the car was sitting for, I would say, 4 or 5 months. I'm going to also remove the belts, check everything. I also have few connectors that I need to go to the other car and check where they go. This is nice about having to nearly the same cars. Yeah, so I also connected the flow meters or airflow meters. Yeah, and everything here looks fine. I think I'm missing a bracket for the battery terminal, but I will find it later. And yeah, this is how it looks now. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I think I need to do some checking under the car if everything is plugged in, and I also need to tighten the flywheel into the torque converter. So that's gonna be on my list now. Okay, so I've managed to figure out a few things. The wire that I didn't know where it goes right here. Then with the oil dipstick, this right here should go to this bolt, but it's like it's not correct, so I don't know what's happening here. Maybe I'm missing another bracket or something. I will look for it in my boxes. But I know I saw broke a clamp right here, so I need to buy a new one. Here everything is fitted. The right here, this bracket, and also the one that holds those vacuum lines right here has to be bolted, so I had to unbolt another time the throttle. But now this can go and fits really nicely. Had to be routed everywhere under the intakes. Here are the airflow meters, and yeah, getting there. I think for today that's all, because I'm quite tired with all those small connections and everything. I'm still leaving the injectors out, because I think tomorrow when I come over, I will try put the gearbox together and try to spin the car to like see if it actually wants to work. And also tomorrow I also record what I have with the with the Turbolamic TCU in here, how I did the wiring. It's not perfect. I learned few bits from High Performance Academy now, but I will be doing that. I just want to get the car started and running and driving for a bit, and then next year when the winter is over, I'm going to redo that. Put the Deutsche connectors in there. Yeah, I will open it up and show you everything. So yeah, for today that's now. I'm going to finish. Welcome to the fuse box. You can see it's a big mess right now. I'm not sure if someone was already in here or if it was like this from factory. The other car has the wires nicely managed, so it wasn't fully me. So you can see right here we have first and second DME. Here normally leaves the TCU, but right now it's a Turbolamic TCU. And I can show you right here. This is the one that came out. And it's the size difference between Turbolamic and this one is not that big. And what you can do, you can chop the mounting holes for screws on the side of the Turbolamic TCU. And as you can see, it will fit perfectly. Like you cannot tell that something is modified except for USB cable in a E38. There was a few connections that I had to unplug. For example, this one and also this one right here. So they were coming in. You can see there's 3 connections right here. And the third one is this wire right here. So basically this end goes to the transmission and this end connected to the car. And that's all of the wiring I had to cut out. Basically I just had to take it from all the zip ties and everything. And the 2 wires I had to modify is this wire right here, that's a CAN bus. So this normally came, I believe, into this one. And I just unpinned it, cut it, and put it together into the loom of the Turbolamic. Here there is a main power coming in. So as you can see right here, I have a fuse. I believe it's a 20 amp fuse. So this goes to power to the TCU. And also there is another wire somewhere here, I believe right here. It's not nicely done. I will redo that, I promise. And this powers on the, this tells the TCU that the ignition is on. And that's all I had to do. Inside of the car, I will show you later, there is actually 3 cables coming in with like a lot of wires. One, you can see they are this 3, you can see them right here. And what I done underneath all the ECUs here, there is I think it's something kind of like a ventilation for this compartment here. So I run the cables through there. There is still enough space so the air can move through, because I believe it's some kind of cooling, because it looks like there is a fan somewhere, but I'm not fully sure. And yeah, so this was like quite simple. I had to like figure out where to tap in everywhere. But yeah, this wire was easy to find because CAN bus is like twisted pair. The power, there is some kind of a connection that all like everything, every power comes from. You can easily unzip it. I put a nice, not a hook, but like open connection into here, and there is a nut hidden underneath it. And yeah, so this was quite easy, to be honest. One thing that I had to do is to plug this cable because this cable goes on the side of the transmission. I don't think you can see it, but on the side of the TCU, there is a USB output to plug this connector in, and you need to do that. Basically, because now the engine is assembled, I put the power onto the car, and the first first ignition on. What happened? The car through the transmission failsafe program, and I was scared that like the TCU doesn't work or something, because I was speaking with Turbolamic, and for the E38 this doesn't, they don't know if this works with the V12s because they never done it. So I believe I'm the first one, because they told me that they are not sure. So then I had to connect to the car, and actually the TCU was set up, like all the parameters that I provided them were correct, but the CAN bus was set up for a E60. So I changed it to the E38, and it worked. I put the ignition on again, and the car said that it's fine. I will show you the interior in a second, but in terms of wiring, it's quite a simple job. Like, you need to solder a few wires. Apparently you shouldn't be soldering. That's what I learned, and I will redo that. But for now, I'm going to keep it, because I will drive the car around the city, maybe take it like 1 hour outside of the city, and then next year I'll be redoing all the wiring and like make everything nice, and maybe put some nicer stuff on the engine, like for some power. But this will come. Yeah. So now let me show you the interior. Now we are in the car. You can see here I have the old shifter for the 5 HP, and as you can see, it has a cable. This cable connects to the transmission and actually like changes gears when you pull this lever here, which is not ideal for 8 HP because it doesn't have anything like that. So we need to use like modern gear stick. The problem with that, it doesn't match the interior really well. And I have a plan to make this shifter work somehow with 8 HP. I want to try something with Arduino or whatever, because I know this car, this shifter, I mean, connects with some connections. I'm thinking maybe there is some kind of a CAN bus or whatever. I don't see any wires for CAN bus, but I will try to dig around it, see what I can do, maybe connect it to Arduino, like with some switches, and make it work. But for now, we are stuck with this one. So what I want to do is make everything, like just put everything together here. And for the shifter, I just want to buy a boot, a leather boot, and just wrap it around here, because there is a big hole. I will show you in a second. Oh, here it is. So this is how big the hole is. Oh, yeah, this is how big the hole is, as you can. Oh, I cannot, because it's already connected. 1 second. But if I put it all back here, you can see there's a huge hole. So yeah, this will be filled up with like a manual leather, and I think it will look fine for now. And then I can work on something to make this work again. Yeah, and also next to the shifter we have this display. It will be hidden in the final version, either in the glove box or in one of the small compartments here. It just basically gives you the gear you are in, the program you are in, the oil temperature and error codes, which is important. And yeah, so now if I switch the ignition on, you can see that the shifter lights up. It says that it's in park. You can see, I hope you can see that. It says P1 and the temperature value is 7, because it's a winter in Poland, so yeah, it's 7 degrees outside. You can see the car here alive, and the problem is I have engine failsafe program right now. I believe this is something to do with throttles, not with the car. I'm currently like trying to debug spot the issues in the ECUs and everything, but everything is in German. And yeah, I will try to figure it out and update you on that. But as you can see, the traction control light is off, which was on when I first plugged it in. So I believe the car thinks that the transmission is fine. And also we have this working. This wasn't working before. So that's pretty cool. We will see how that works. And yeah, in terms of the car here, I had to take quite a lot of things out, run the cables through somewhere there, run them here, all underneath it here, and they come out here. I will need to extend this cable for the display and put it, I think, somewhere here, or stash it in the glove box for now. Also, important note: I'm using stock wiring from the Turbolamic. Basically, they have like a generic one, and they send it to me. As you can see, everything like the cables are long enough to go from the TCU into the gearbox, which is right there. You can see the drive shaft. Oh wait, yeah, right here you can see the drive shaft. So the gearbox runs through underneath the car. The wires for the stick are here, and the wire for the display is a bit short, but if you want to put it in a glove box, some people put it like somewhere here. I want to hide it because I don't want to see it, and it's fine. There's also one more wire that I run, because I said there's 3 wires. It's somewhere, I think it's stashed somewhere now here, but basically that's a program switch. I don't need that because this will be like a daily, a comfortable car, not a drift car or anything. So yeah, I will undo that wire, run it out from the car, and have a nicer and a bit cleaner wiring for that. So yeah, so it's all from the inside, and I think now I can go back and try to put the front together on the car, put the coolant hoses, because it will be really hard to put them with the front on. So welcome outside of the car again. What happened is I tried putting the coolant hoses on, and it turns out they don't fit. I was sold E38 M73 water pump, and this fitting and this fitting, they don't fit. They're completely different than the coolant hoses that I got from BMW. Autodoc told me it's going to fit perfectly. You can exchange them. It just doesn't have the coolant output for the transmission. Turns out it doesn't fit, so I now need to take the crankshaft pulley off again with a huge tool. And yeah, so I think I'm going to stop the episode for now and try to go and figure out something, because the car was coming really nicely to nearly like I think I'm ready to start. I just need to put everything together, like the last bits. And yeah, here we are. So project car life, right? Cool. So that's it for the episode. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. We started without an engine, and we're finishing without the water pump, but the engine is in, and the transmission controller, it's talking to the other controllers, and looks like to be fine. So I'm happy about that. But I'm pissed about the water pump, which I was told is gonna fit. It doesn't. So yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm experimenting with how I want to record everything. Like, is it more a vloggy style or just like step by step what I'm doing? I don't know. I might go to more vloggy stuff, but we'll see. I'm just experimenting here, and hope you like that. Let me know how you find it, and yeah, and see you in the next one. I think off camera I will just put like more stuff together, because it's boring. It's not that many nuts and everything, just lining up everything. And then I can go and try to figure out how to make the water pump, and then, yeah. And it's gonna be more stuff. And I also want to record a separate video about how to do the swap, like when mine actually works. It looks to be fine-ish, and all the problems that I encountered. So, yeah, because this one is more like a E38 project, which I think is pretty cool. I drove this car for like 1,500 kilometers. It's a really fun car, especially that V12, but that gearbox was shit. And mine had problems that it would just spin, like the internally or whatever. It had no codes. Previous owner told me that he had some codes for, I don't remember what, but the transmission was going to fail-safe mode. I never had that. I just had like, I would join a motorway, go full throttle, and the car wouldn't move, but the engine was revving and nothing was happening. So I just ditched it, and I hope the 8 HP is gonna be really nice. I watch a lot of people who did the swaps and they say it's perfect for daily driver. Is a V12 a daily driver? Maybe next year when it's a bit sunnier, because now we have winter and salt on the road, and this car is pretty much rust-free. There's small little spots that I need to take care of, but that's all. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, see you in the next one.